So as a result, he got himself into a situation where he was sacrificing his own base that was only thinly formed anyway by the tremendous excitement of the election. And so we and Obama supporters and the underlying spiritual vision that we identified with of a good world, we are all becoming invisible to each other through this process and drifting back into a space of social separation, dispiritedness, and isolation, and with some anger. I don't want to elicit the anger in the room. I don't want to say, yeah, we're all pissed off. I don't really want to do that. But I want to recognize it's painful to hope, to extend your heart after, you've protected yourself in 97,000 different ways over the course of your life and over the course of history to dealing with the limitations of past social movements and past idealistic efforts. Yet you come out again and dare to believe again, only to have it be dropped by a mistake that I think Obama has made. Now, why is he making this mistake? I don't tend to go for psychological explanations. I'm much more socially oriented in how I see things. But let me make a point. The day after the State of the Union address, Obama, to my amazement, after he sort of stood up in that State of the Union address, even though he did it, as I was saying, in the form of telling the Republicans all the things he had done that they shouldn't be mad at him about. But he sort of stood up. Then the next day he was back with them again at the House Republican caucus, again meeting with them by himself for a significant period of time, answering their questions, and once again showing that really, don't they see how reasonable he's being here? And they should, not getting they're a no we can't group. Okay, they're not a yes we can group, they're a no we can't group. Okay, so I thought maybe maybe he has an unconscious wish to reunite his parents. No, I'm serious, and I don't want to be, in other words, that there's factors here that influence all of us. Like, he's a very charming person. He may have always learned that charm works for him in life. He may have things coming out of his childhood that are coming up for him in being rejected. And the thing I'm saying about this is these factors, if you look at Obama himself and the vulnerable position that he is in, see, in my description of the election and how it brought us all out of ourselves into connection, in my description of that, he's actually very alone. We may think of him as having tremendous power, but he's not. He's very alone, and he doesn't know how to hold together the revolutionary energy that he senses elected him. That's very risky to try and hold that together, because then you can't go within the norms. You have to go outside the norms and hold on to a visionary world and have confidence that the love force that you were able to elicit and participate in will be there, will continue to be there. He may have doubted that. And when that happens, people tend to fall back on patterns and processes and ways of doing things that come out of our childhoods that have limitations to them. That may be a factor. If it is, I hope he can use that somehow to get out of this mess, actually, that he can become meditative and centered and make the Republicans seem like totally impossible and somehow regain a transcendental standpoint. But there's another reason, there's another force working on Obama to undermine his radicalism, if I can put it that way. And that is that the situation of being president seduces you into thinking that if you move to the center, you will absorb the strength of the role of the presidency. And that's the path to gaining legitimacy and re-election. Instead of being Barack Obama, the leader of an insurgent, utopian, loving movement that is challenging the social separation in the society and leading people to risk emotional vulnerability to come together, he can, as Bill Clinton actually did. Bill Clinton, I don't feel, ever had quite the charismatic emotional strength that Obama has, but he had started off in a very similar conundrum to Obama's, being attacked by everybody for the first 2 years saying, we don't want 60s hippies in the White House, get it together. You recall Newt Gingrich and anyway, surely you remember this period when he got a haircut and everybody went crazy. He got a haircut on the tarmac, and anyway, The point is that Clinton then, what Clinton did was he simply moved into the role of president, which he was very skilled at carrying out, and the aspect of 60s energy that contributed to his election and to who he actually was in 1992 gradually drifted away into him being a president like any other, and a good one at talking to people, at speaking in leadership situations, at working with Congress, whatever. This is something that will cool out the Republican opposition. If Obama, they'll oppose him, but they won't go all out to destroy him if he becomes a normal president within the framework of someone occupying the role of president in a socially separated, role-based world. And then he could win a second election but have lost the yes, we can. He could have lost us and yet gain re-election in the same way that Bill Clinton did. Okay, so, are you with me? Okay, 5 minutes. So, now what? First, I think we should say, this is a mess. What the hell happened, you know? I mean, a year and a half ago, you know, it was just like, wow, okay, you said this, we didn't agree with him, but still, you know, it was an incredible moment, full of hope. All of us were out there. I was in Reno with Sam and Lisa, you know, all that. Now, I wouldn't go to Reno in a million years, except to gamble, you know? I'm telling the truth here. I mean, in other words, I wouldn't be motivated to be drawn out of myself to do the same thing I was motivated to do at that moment. So the question is first we have to acknowledge, you know, it's really sad what's happened. Whatever the reason is, he's made a wrong decision. President Obama has made a wrong decision. He needed to constitute us, and instead he inadvertently took us for granted, and we've abandoned us to engage in this protracted dialogue with people to the right of him in a way that's undermining his policies, undermining his whole historical significance. And because we did get hope again, it is painful. I think it's painful. Then we have to go back to the drawing board and pursue a strategy, a spiritual progressive strategy that does what Medea was saying and Reverend Smith was saying. We have to build a strong constituency to Barack Obama's left, broadly speaking, spiritual left, that articulates what he is supposed to be doing and constitutes ourselves in a network where we can strengthen ourselves to do that. To my mind, there are three dimensions to this. One is we have to retain our own moral presence as human beings. We have to hold in every interaction that we still believe in a transcendental world based on love and caring, and we have to not be afraid to speak that way and show ourselves that way to others. Obama can do that. We've seen him do it, and we need to do it also to manifest that personal presence. Second, we need to do what Amma was referring to earlier when she said, you heard me speak before about creating an alternative reality. We need to create a parallel universe existing inside the existing society where we are visible to each other, where we do not go back into the world and think, I'm just an isolated monad leading my okay life according to the following routines, just like everybody else, and I'm sad about it, but, you know, no, that's what we need to do instead is to build a parallel universe that's based on the values that we do hold dear, where we can recognize one another and draw ourselves out of our own isolation through this common connection. That's why I so appreciate the singing here earlier today, because the singing pulls you right out of that flattened, leveled down, everything is going the way it's going, into another level of self-manifestation with others that is joyful, that is uplifting. Michael's synagogue service does this for me when we dance outside and look at the stars and look at the universe, and I recover my memory of how wonderful it is to be alive and how much I love other human beings. And we do need that. We need to create a movement where we do that, because remember, there still is potentially 7 more years of the Obama administration. So after the shock of what's gone wrong, we now need to recover ourselves and build a social force that remanifests the ideals I'm speaking about. Finally, we need to find a way to learn ourselves and to help teach others how to link the pursuit of social policies with deeply held spiritual values. If we advocate for health care, we are talking about caring about each other's health and the health of each other's families. We're not talking about insuring each other's bodies through complicated mechanical schemes that nobody can understand. The core of any healthcare platform or position has to be evocative of the spiritual meaning of caring for one another's health, of the opportunity to live in a society where we care for each other's health. How wonderful that would be, how great that feels, not how expensive it is to not the whole framework that deals with the whole thing without its moral core being expressed. The same can be said for every social issue. I don't have time to do it now. Maybe this afternoon I will. But Social Security, which is coming back up on the agenda to be under attack, needs to be defended as a great manifestation of intergenerational caring and love. That is one of the greatest social contributions and achievements of humanity up until this time, where the younger generation cares for the older generation systematically, out of love and out of what really matters in life, providing the bonds for people. This is the way to talk about it. It's not to talk about it in terms of how much money there is in the trust fund. Oh, there's enough money in the trust fund, say the Democrats. No, there isn't, say the Republicans. That is not a way to win the Social Security argument. You have to reach down to the moral meaning of the social issue and evoke it so as to lead people to remember, oh yes, I want to live in that world, where people care for each other's health, where people protect each other in old age. And I know that we're going to discuss these same issues this morning and this afternoon when it comes to foreign policy. A foreign policy that is based on generosity and on realizing that people join terrorism, become part of, are enraged by being humiliated and impoverished. If their humanity is recognized, it draws off support for people who want to engage in acts of violence. So a peace-oriented policy that recognizes the humanity of other people, that reaches out to them and shows your care and concern for them as human beings, that's a way to end the terrorist threat and to create a peaceful and loving world. So I know these issues will be addressed by others, but this is our task. Okay.